Welcome back to Math. This is section 21 on trigonometry. We'll look at the relationships in right triangles, finding trigonometry values with calculators, and then finding side measurements and finding angle measurements. In section 14, we saw that congruent triangles have the exact same angle measurements and the same side lengths. Similar triangles, which is what we're going to look at in trigonometry, also have the same angle measurements, but their sides are proportional. It's those proportionals of the similar right triangles that give us the trigonometric functions. We can use those functions to calculate unknown angle measurements or unknown side lengths. Remember that the total angle measurement in a triangle is 180 degrees. In a right triangle, one of those angles is 90 degrees of that. So the other two are both acute angles, each measuring less than 90 degrees. We'll be talking about hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent sides. So remember that in a right triangle, like this is the right angle here, labeled with a little square. The hypotenuse is always the side that's directly across from the right angle. But whether a side is opposite or adjacent depends on the point of view of which angle you're looking at. If we're looking at this angle down here, which we can label as theta, that's the Greek letter that stands for an angle measurement, from this angle's point of view, this side is opposite and this side is adjacent. In this triangle, if this is the angle that we're concerned with, then this side is opposite and this side is adjacent. The trigonomic functions are all about the ratios between the opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent sides. So the three main ones that we're going to be concerned with in this section are sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine is abbreviated SIN, and it's the ratio of the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Its reciprocal is called cosecant, and it's literally just taking the reciprocal or flipping that fraction over. On a calculator, it'll be shown as the reciprocal of sine, or sine to the -1. Cosine is abbreviated COS, and it's adjacent over hypotenuse. Its reciprocal secant is cos to the -1 on a calculator. And tangent, abbreviated TAN, is the ratio of the opposite to the adjacent. Its reciprocal is cotangent. Some people use different memory devices to remember which one is which. Some people just remember as SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite hypotenuse, cosine adjacent hypotenuse, tangent opposite adjacent. Or some people use a sentence like this: some old horse, or sine opposite hypotenuse, caught another horse taking oats away. Whatever memory device you use is fine. Before calculators, the values of trigonometric functions were looked up on tables, or they were calculated with slide rules. Now, of course, we use calculators. It's much easier, but you just need to know what sequence to push the buttons in. If you're looking for the sine of a 30-degree angle, for example, you press sine 30, enter on most calculators. Sometimes it's sine 30 equals. The result that you should get back should be 0.5. Be sure that your calculator's mode is set to degrees. Some calculators, including the TI-30XS, also have a mode called classic mode that you need to be in. If you wanted to enter the value for 14 times the cosine of 60 degrees, you'd enter 14 and then cosine 60, enter. In that case, the answer should equal 7. We'll show other calculator techniques as we go along with the practice problems. With a right triangle, if you know the measurement of one angle and the length of one side, you can find the lengths of the other sides. You just need to choose the sine, cosine, or tangent ratio based on what information you have and what you need. So in this right triangle, the right angle is here, This is the side opposite, so it's the hypotenuse. We know that this angle right here is 40 degrees. And we want to know the measurement of the side that's opposite. So we're looking for some ratio of opposite and hypotenuse, and that is, of course, sine, which is opposite over hypotenuse. So we can say that the sine of 40 degrees, that's the measurement of this angle, equals the opposite, that's x, that's what we're looking for, over the hypotenuse, 12. Now basically we just need to solve for x, which is getting it isolated on one side of the equation. So we need to multiply both sides of this equation by 12. That would give us x on this side, and it would give us 12 times the sine of 40 degrees. On a calculator, you would enter 12. You don't need to press the multiplication key, just keep going with sine 40 and then press enter. You'll get a number with a long decimal, but we're told to round it to the nearest tenth, which is 7.7. Here's another example of finding a side measurement. Here we have another right triangle with a 40-degree angle here. This time we're looking for the hypotenuse, and we know the adjacent side. So that's going to be the cosine ratio. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we can say that the cosine of 40 degrees equals the adjacent side, that's 10, and the hypotenuse is x. That's what we're looking for. Now we're going to isolate x on one side of the equation again. So first we'll multiply both sides by x, and then we're going to divide by the cosine of 40. Now dividing by cosine, we can in this case just set that up as a fraction. And when we do this on the calculator, we're going to press 10 divided by cosine 40, enter. And what we'll get, again rounding to the nearest tenth, is 13.1. You'll notice in the last example we didn't have to do the multiplication sign, but in this one you do have to do division sign. It's just the way most calculators are. Here's an example where we're going to find an angle measurement. We know two sides. We are looking for the measurement of this angle right here, labeled x, and we know its opposite side and its adjacent side. So that is going to be the tangent ratio. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of angle x is the opposite side, that's 16, divided by its adjacent side, that's 12. This time we need to just divide by tangent. When we're dividing a fraction by tangent, it's really the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Remember, when you divide fractions, it's really multiplying by the reciprocal. So this 1 over tangent reciprocal, that is tan to the negative 1 on your calculator. So you're going to enter, again, on most calculators, the second function, the second tangent, and then 16 divided by 12, and press enter, and you will get that x equals, again rounding to the nearest tenth, 53.1 degrees. Here's another example of finding an angle measurement. Here we were looking for the angle up here in this corner. We know that the hypotenuse is 7, and we know that the opposite side is 4. So we're looking at the sine ratio, which is opposite over hypotenuse. So we can write sine of x is, again, the opposite is 4 over the hypotenuse, 7. Once again, we're going to divide this fraction by sine, which is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. On a calculator, we enter the second and then sine, to get our 1 over sine value. And then we're going to press 4 divided by 7, and we're going to find that x, again rounded to the nearest tenth, is 34.8 degrees.